Finished. For good. Nothing runs like a Deere. Learn more at johndeere.com/compact tractors.
Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Bowen, here he goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him! Xavier Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football.
Delivers touchdown!
Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
Welcome into another edition of the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports here. Got a fun show for you guys today. We're going to talk a little bit more about the SEC football, obviously, as we talk SEC football 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks out of the year right here on the Deep South College Football Show. We'll hear from Alabama offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, who spoke to the media a little bit earlier today at the Malmore Athletic Complex. And Ryan Grubb has been known to give us some good information, right? I mean, Kalen DeBoer, he'll talk for 30 minutes, and it's kind of, all right, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time, but there wasn't a lot that we can take out of this, right? Kane Womack's very similar in that type of way, but when Ryan Grubb comes to the stage, when Ryan Grubb stands in front of that microphone, Ryan Grubb talks for maybe 10 minutes. Matter of fact, I timed it today. He talked for 8.5 minutes. So Ryan Grubb talks for about 8.5 minutes, and he gives you a lot of good information. And I think we got some good stuff from the Crimson Tide's offensive coordinator earlier today. So we'll go ahead and dive into that conversation here throughout the Deep South College Football Show today as we are also getting ready for the start of the rest of the college football season, right? I mean, obviously you've got other things going on here this college football season as we got Jackson and Reed hanging out with us here in the Tide 100.9 studios. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Doing well. We got another hot one on our hands today.
Oh, yeah. I do not envy being a player out there for the University of Alabama that, has got to stand around in this type of heat and practice in this type of heat. I don't envy them whatsoever.
No, it kind of makes me wonder how Nick Saban was able to get all those talented players in his, program all over the years. And especially when you hear Micah Parsons, I don't know if you've seen that clip where he's like, I came on a visit here, got out in the heat. I was like, man, this just, I can't do this heat. It's just too much.
Got out in that heat, saw the players running 110s and 50s and all that stuff and conditioning in the summer. And he was like, yeah, that ain't for me, big dog. I'm not going to be a part of this. Y'all have fun in Tuscaloosa where you don't even have the Gulf breeze to keep you cool, right? Like down in Mobile, you've at least got the Gulf to keep you cool a little bit. You don't have that in Central Alabama. So, y'all have fun with that in Central Alabama, Micah Parsons said. And he said, I'm going to go to Happy Valley. I'm going to go to Pennsylvania where, okay, yeah, it gets cold. But, I mean, when you get cold, you can layer up. You can have the hot hands and stick them in your gloves and your shoes and you're fine. You'll stay relatively warm. But when you're hot, I mean, you can only shed so much. You can only shed so much before you're just SOL, as a lot of people like to say it there. Reed, how you doing, man?
Wyatt, not too bad. And like you said, Ryan Grubb gave us a lot of good information today, and I think the main one that I was not familiar with is that tomorrow they put on pads. So really looking forward to that.
I'm excited for pads to come on tomorrow because the pads separate the boys from the men, right? Everybody looks good in spider pads. Everybody plays really well in shells. Everybody looks really good in a helmet. But when those pads come on, when those pads start to pop, when you're lined up against that other guy, when you've got Jackson Lloyd, standing in between you and your goal, you and that quarterback, what you got? Hey, when you're Jackson Lloyd and you've got a 6'6", 250-pound edge rusher that their entire goal is to kick your tail. Or as Kalen DeBoer said it yesterday, their entire goal is to kick your ass and get to that quarterback. What you're going to do? What you're going to do with it? So excited for the Pats to come on here tomorrow at the University of Alabama. We got to see a little bit of practice earlier today, and I know we only, the media got to see roughly 15 minutes, which is not a lot of time when Alabama typically practices for about an hour and a half to 2 hours, but got to see some dudes out there today. They also gave me a handy-dandy printed out roster, so that's always really nice to have. Love going to open practices because then I get a nice little roster and I didn't have to waste my paper on it. But regardless, though, that linebacker room, I'm going to talk about the defense for this first segment here. All right, that linebacker room for this defense is one of the less talked about rooms, and I understand that sounds weird when you've got QB Reese and Luke Metz and Abdul Sanders and Duke Johnson and Xavier Griffin and all these guys competing for, and Caden Jones and all these guys competing for a starting job, which is what's on the line in that running back room. But it is really, really interesting when you see the fact that, okay, yes, everybody's going to talk about the quarterbacks. Everybody and their mother is going to have an opinion on who should be the starting quarterback. Is it Keelan Russell? Is it Austin Mack? And Grubb mentioned them both earlier today as well. But is it Keelan? Is it Mack? Who's going to win this starting quarterback job? Is the same guy going to start game one that's going to finish game two? These are some of the questions that I've been hearing kind of pop up in and around people who talk about the University of Alabama. And then you talk about the run game and the offensive line, right? All right, is that going to be better than it was a season ago? Is the offensive line going to be able to protect a quarterback? Is the offensive line going to be able to create holes in the run game? How good is Adrian Clem, wide receiver? What's Ryan Coleman-Williams going to look like? Who's that other guy outside of Ryan Coleman-Williams that is going to allow Alabama to go out there and make their plays? Is going to be able to make plays for this quarterback here. Defensively, everybody's talking about Yonze Pierre. Yonze Pierre, he's all this. He's, the best edge rusher that Alabama's seen since, Will Anderson or Dallas Turner. Yonze Pierre's poised for a big season. The secondary, we call them the best in the country, and we move on from that. But it doesn't seem like a lot of people are talking about this linebacker room, because this linebacker room is going to be just as critical as, I would say, any other unit for Alabama this season here. When you look at this linebacker room in Tuscaloosa, it's critical that they get these guys ready to go and that room is ready to play, because we've seen, this is going to sound rude, mean, derogatory. I don't know how to phrase this, but I don't know how to phrase this any better right now. We've seen what poor linebacker play can do for Alabama's defense. Poor linebacker play probably lost Alabama that game in Nashville against Vanderbilt 2 seasons ago, right? You can't stop a shuffle pass. You can't stop a quarterback scrambling. Well, whose job is that? That's the linebacker's job. Hey, when you go to Norman, Oklahoma, and they're running a lot of this read option crap, they're running a bunch of stuff that, misdirection. Whose job is it to anchor down that defense, get the play calls in, and help everybody stay on their assignment? It's the linebacker's job. So looking at the linebacker position here for Alabama, this is a massive, massive position. This is probably, I would say, the second biggest battle on this roster outside of the quarterback position is linebacker. Well, we know one guy that's probably going to be getting a starting job, and that's going to be Caleb Woodson, the Virginia Tech transfer, who is a very, very talented player. And if you go look at some of the videos that were coming out today that, myself and other media members were posting earlier today from Alabama, Caleb Woodson is a unit. Caleb Woodson is a monster of a human being. And I wouldn't be shocked if he's the green dot, which for those that don't know, the green dot means that's the defender that is calling defense, right? Or he's getting the defensive calls from Coach Womack on the headset, and then he's relaying those calls to the rest of the defense. And there's normally a couple of guys that have that green dot, but Jackson Reed, I'm really, really impressed with what I saw from Caleb Woodson, just from a size perspective, from a physicality standpoint. I was really, really impressed with what I saw from him today. I'm also kind of impressed by QB Reese, the number 36 for Alabama here, and I'll give you, let's see here. I've got it pulled up here.
Yeah, QB Reese, junior linebacker, 6 foot, 230 pounds here for Alabama from Ramsey High School over in Birmingham. So local kid, in-state guy. He understands what it means to go play for the University of Alabama. So I'm really, really excited about what that competition is going to look like in that room for Alabama this season. Am I misplaced in my confidence or my excitement?
No, I don't think so. That's why Alabama brought him in from Virginia Tech in the first place, was to be that, big, stouty leader, ferocious guy in the linebacker room, kind of taking the spot of a Deontay Lawson. Whereas, Deontay did start in that Vanderbilt game that you mentioned previously. He was injured throughout his career off and on, didn't always see the field. Maybe took some plays off here and there to kind of nurse his injury. This is the guy you bring in to replace him. Yeah, Deontay Lawson had the green dot and was the brains and the leader on that defense, but you bring in the guy like Caleb Woodson from Virginia Tech to be that and more with that physicality approach that you were mentioning that you saw out there today.
So really excited to see, again, Caleb Woodson. We think we assume, I know what they say about assuming, but I think it's a safe assumption to say that Caleb Woodson is going to be a starting linebacker on this defense here. It's that other spot. Who gets that other spot for Alabama?
Do you think it'll be? I personally think it'll be Xavier Griffin. I just think I wouldn't hate a Xavier Griffin. He's not, as experienced as some of the other guys in the room, but the raw talent that he brings is just. I mean, it's kind of hard to keep it off the field. You're going to have packages if he's not a starter to have him in there, especially if he is as disruptive as we all predict him to be this season. And it appears that Xavier Griffin is going to be a very talented player. Kane Womack was – I actually posted the video on X. Kane Womack went out there and was hands-on coaching with him individually after he completed a rep. So it seems like they've got a lot of – high hopes for this guy, the former 5-star out of Gainesville High School over in Georgia. But Reed, what you got?
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I remember back in spring, Christian had Reuben Foster on a show, and he said that he went to one of those spring practices, and two linebackers. Now, he said he didn't get to see a lot of Caleb Woodson, but the two guys that he saw a lot of that he really did like was both QB Reese and Luke Metz.
And those are two guys that Alabama might need to rely on pretty heavily here this upcoming season. I say might. They're going to have to rely on those two guys pretty heavily this upcoming season here when you look at what Alabama's going to be bringing to the table here. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and take our first time out here of the Deep South College Football Show. And when we come back, we'll hear from Alabama offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, who spoke to the media earlier today.
And it's always no work and all play at Silver Star and Golden Moon Casinos. So come on, leave it all behind and head to Pearl River Resort.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of The Game, we're going to talk to Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. We'll get the latest from Alabama's practice number 2. Chris Hummer stops by. He's going to make a quarterback prediction around the University of Alabama. We'll talk about that. Trevor Maddich swings by, talk some offensive line with us, all starting at 2 p.m. on The Game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running
sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6.
Quick, it's easy, and it's free. Go to mylocalcustomers.com today.
That's mylocalcustomers.com. mylocalcustomers.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. A sticky afternoon with sunshine, 94. Scattered pop-up showers and storms developing here this afternoon. Storms will fade away tonight. We turn partly cloudy, 74. Friday and the weekend, more of the same. Sunshine, warm and humid. Afternoon showers and storms possible Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll see temperatures in the mid-90s right on through Sunday. Richard DeWetting of the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 95 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Follow the Crimson Tide on their journey to another national championship.
Touchdown, Alabama!
On your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. I mentioned earlier that we would hear from Alabama offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb, so let's go ahead and listen to what the head coach of the Crimson Tide had to say. This is Ryan Grubb here from his press conference earlier today.
How you doing, everybody? Good. Who's up?
You want to tell us some of your starters, start things off?
Oh, sure. So you heard that Johnny went on scholarship. I'm kidding. I'm telling you guys crap. What's up?
So yeah, quarterback-wise, what have you seen so far?
Just an extension of the spring and summer. Both guys are growing. I think the attention to detail right now is on the things that they know they got to work on. Each one of them has different strengths and weaknesses, but be very similar to the timing last year, and that we've done every year back to 2021 at Fresno State. So same mechanics on that, and the guys will be getting equal opportunity and doing a good job.
What's the biggest area of growth you've seen from each of them in the summer?
The summer, I'd say Keelan did a better job taking care of the football in the summer than he did the spring. And then with Austin, I thought he was better on the run out of the pocket. I thought he really grew in that regard.
Last year, you rotated the offensive line a lot. Is that something you plan to do this year, or are you trying to find the best five?
Best five. Now, we always, there's injuries, guys that got to move in and out, things like that, but certainly want to get the gel right away.
What have you seen at the right tackle position with Javen James and Nick Brooks?
They both done a good job. They battled back and forth this spring. Nick did a good job. We moved him around quite a bit. Javen really was just at right tackle. So seeing Nick in some different spots was really good. But both those guys, obviously Nick's massive, uses his size well. He's an incredible athlete for his size. And then Javen is probably one of the most savvy players we have up front. So I think both those guys are, getting their footing and trying to show demand. Like, this is my job. So we're doing a great job. Left guard, Will Sanders is back. It's been fun seeing him out there. We haven't seen Will for a little bit, full speed, because he had an injury in the spring. And then even, going through the summer, he didn't get a rep very much. So seeing him out there building reps right now has been exciting because, I thought Will was a heck of a player last year as well. He's done a really good job. And then Mal has been a guy that just really has, grabbed onto that spot, tough, smart, and he's an excellent communicator. Really done a nice job. So I think it's going to be a heck of a battle there.
How close are you to knowing who the best five is up front?
I think we're a little ways off yet, if I'm being honest. I think we got some time here. We got a lot of banked reps, so I've seen all these guys, with the exception of Will. Most of these guys have been out there quite a bit, so I don't think obviously he's going to take all of camp, but you'd love that to sync up with your quarterback decision so that you can get some unity going into the game week.
How much more valuable is experience here in this program versus transfer experience from another college?
What do you mean? The guys that have played here, you're saying?
Right.
Oh, I think anybody that has experience year 1 to year 2 at Alabama, myself included, is you're just going to be a step ahead. You come here, the expectations, what it feels like, and honestly, you get a little more excited, in my opinion. So I think those are the guys that are leading all the people and helping them understand how special this place is.
Last year, we heard a lot about execution and communication in the running game. What have you looked at from a coaching standpoint, from schematics and sequencing that can improve the running game?
Simplify and do your best stuff. Don't get inch deep and mile wide. Do what you're good at and be great at it. And Coach Clem has done an excellent job with, helping build that. And between him and Rich Owens. Been super excited to work with those two guys and resurrecting the run game, and we will.
What do you say for winning the third varsity spot?
What's the criteria for winning the It's a good question. I think that, you're still looking at the guy that's going to make the most plays, but part of that is understanding there's more than just catching the football. And the good part for us is I think we got 5 to 6 guys, especially when Noah gets back, that we can move around a lot of different spots. And it's always been one of the things that I think makes this receiving corps special when we've used in other places, that guys line up all over the place. Ryan, on the outside, Ryan in the slot, just moving these guys around. So I think one of the pieces is obviously having good command of the offense. Those are the guys that are easy to plug in almost anywhere.
Brian, what have you seen from an Adrian Clem kind of led practice? Like, what kind of demeanor does he get out there?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about Clem is, that when you're looking at a position coach here, like, does this guy got command, and is he a master teacher? And when I hear Clem at practice, it's always coaching points. Even if he's upset, not upset, it doesn't really matter. There's a coaching point. There's a process going on. That's what has always impressed me. There's an immediate answer, there's a solution, and the guys know what that is. They can move on quickly.
How can Josh Ford impact the blocking with the tight end room?
Awesome. Ford's been great, man. His mindset, demeanor, how he works. I just think he's a big guy, right? You're talking about 6'5.5", 270 plus pounds, and he's just a force in the wide position. But the guy that we're excited as well is Danny Lewis. Getting that guy back, you got 2 real wides that are, proven blockers, guys that can do it in this league. Then you got Caleb Edwards. I mean, you got 3 guys that are long levered players that are going to be impact players in tight end room.
Given Lewis's injury history, what is the expectation for him?
Just let him play. He's out there. He's cleared. Our medical staff, from Jeff to our doctors, have been absolutely amazing. And then, Danny Lewis might be one of the best stories of camp. Just watching him and the resilience that kid has had to be able to come back out and compete at this level has been, it's really inspiring. I mean, for coaches too.
What's been your impression of EJ?
EJ's young, super explosive, runs out over his toes, has good balance. He's thick with the ball. He runs physical. He runs bigger than he is. He's got speed in the long end. He's just got to learn the game. He's got to learn how to practice full speed all the time. He's a great kid. He wants to do it. He loves being here. He's an Alabama guy. But he's physical. He's tough. He's got great hands. The sky's the limit for him. But he's got to learn the game. He's got to know how to practice. And he's got a good shot.
When do you think of where the running back room stands right now? Kind of what comes to mind?
Daniel Hill, is a guy that I think people are going to be really impressed. The transformation that, Daniel's had with his body. He's been a really lean in the 230s, low 230s, even in the high 220s. He runs different. He's got good agility. He's got great command of the offense. He's super intelligent, excellent pass blocker. I think it starts with him. AK's been making a ton of progress. Kevin Riley, coming back from a broken jaw, has put the weight on. He's explosive with the football in his hand. We talked about EJ, and then TB is Brown's made an impact as well. So I think we got a lot of weapons in that room. It's highly competitive. The guys know that every rep counts, and they've been prepping that way.
If memory serves, you named Ty the starter after the first scrimmage last year. Do you anticipate needing both scrimmages to make that decision this year?
Yeah, I think we probably will. Just younger guys, making sure we got every ounce of data we need. But if it's the first scrimmage, it's the first scrimmage. If we feel good about that after that point, then we'll name that. Obviously, the longer your team can have their starter name, the better off you are. We don't worry about the other team and who they know it is or isn't. We just want to make sure we make the right decision.
Is Monday the first day in pads, and how much anticipation is it?
No, tomorrow is.
Oh, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yep.
What kind of a truth teller is it to get into pads?
Oh yeah, it's always been the science versus fiction books, right? I mean, we're out there whacking each other around. I'm really proud of how our guys, no pads, we practice physical, and we've done a good job on both sides of the football, understanding how to play, with physicality, with no pads on. So I think tomorrow they're going to be popping. I feel there's already been a different energy in this camp, even compared to last year with some veteran guys. I think you attribute that to a lot of open jobs and competitive young players.
One more.
You let us know about Jackson Wade pretty early this spring.
Yeah.
How have you seen him kind of embrace that role of being the left tackle, just kind of improve himself physically this offseason?
Jackson's really stoic, to the point where you wonder about what's this guy's confidence level and things like that. And I think that's one of the things that I've seen with Jackson, even in camp so far, is just the confidence is starting to come with his ability. He's super talented guy, big, physical, crazy athletic. But I think the savvy he's already playing with at the age he's at already is impressive. His communication skills are still getting better, but he's done a really good job of that.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
That was Alabama offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb speaking to the media here following Alabama's spring practice here. We'll go ahead and take our next time out for our radio listeners here, and then we'll come back and analyze what he had to say, because there were some key things that he talked about those quarterbacks here, and so I want to dive into that conversation a little bit, as, again, this is one of the most important.
Crimson Tide, sold in stadium and at bars, restaurants, and stores near you. Must be 21. Please drink responsibly.
What does it mean to advertise and do your marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa? Melissa started her business in 2014. What would you say to someone considering Town Square Media Tuscaloosa?
My experience with Town Square Media has been awesome, and I would definitely recommend it to anyone. I think that this is the first time in my marketing experience that I've been able to see my return on investment. I would definitely say in the past that has not been the case. In this, I like knowing that that's 100%. A lot of the marketing we've done has been radio. You guys have so much more to offer than that, whether it's, websites, from targeted marketing to radio. You are kind of a one-stop shop, and it makes doing marketing so much easier. So I would definitely recommend it.
For more info on marketing with Town Square Media Tuscaloosa, call 205-345-7200 or click on Advertise with Us on our website.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of The Game, we're going to talk to Rodney Orr, TiderInsider.com. We'll get the latest from Alabama's practice number 2. Chris Hummer stops by. He's going to make a quarterback prediction around the University of Alabama. We'll talk about that. Trevor Maddich swings by, talk some offensive line with us, all starting at 2 p.m. on The Game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide Sports.
The longest running sports talk show in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and 1230 a.m. WTBC. And streaming worldwide on the free Tide app. The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 a.m. WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports here. Ryan Grubb spoke to the media. We heard from the offensive coordinator at the University of Alabama here in the last segment here. But there was a couple of things that he really mentioned here, Jackson, that I want to dive into for just a moment here. First off, first question out the gate. Hey, what have you seen from your quarterbacks so far? What have you seen from your quarterbacks? And I think it was really interesting that the two areas that we've talked about with Austin Mack and Keelan Russell, and said, look, Austin Mack, he's got to get better getting outside of the pocket. He's got to get better, making plays in space, right? Getting outside of the pocket. When things start to break down and bullets start to fly, can Austin Mack be the guy that goes out and makes those plays? Well, according to Ryan Grubb, quote, I thought he was better on the run out of the pocket. I thought he really grew in that regard. All right, that was pretty damn good. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I think it's fascinating to note here as well that he led with Austin Mack. He led with that statement. He didn't talk about Keelan first. He talked about Mack first.
Well, no, he did talk about Keelan first. Biggest area of growth this summer, I'd say Keelan did a better job taking care of the football in the summer than he did in the spring, and then with Austin. So they did lead with Keelan, but those are the two areas that we talked about. Yeah. We've talked about all summer. Yeah, they have got to get better in those areas,
and that's what you want to see specifically from Mack. If he's, if this race is close and Mack has improved on the run, which is what Keelan's real specialty, I guess you would say, is. It kind of makes it a little more muddier when it comes down to it and making this race closer and who they're going to lean for that nod to start.
And I did also think it was interesting here. He said, Ryan Grubb, when in the first question there from Nick Kelly, what have you seen from your quarterback so far? he answers, and then he goes, very similar to timing last year, and that we've done every year back to 2021 at Fresno State. Well, if you go back and look, last year they named Ty Simpson the starting quarterback coming out of the first scrimmage, right? Washington, they named Michael Penix the starting quarterback coming out of the first scrimmage. I think Jake Haener at Fresno State in 2021, they named him the starter coming out of the first scrimmage. So seems like Kalen DeBoer and Ryan Grubb, they've got a little bit of a trend here.
Yeah, they do. And I know previously Kalen DeBoer has mentioned that he wants it to be no later than the second scrimmage, that by the second scrimmage they should have a true definement of who the starting quarterback will be. But it seems like maybe they're kind of hedging their bet a little bit and going first scrimmage.
Seems like it there. It was interesting, though. First question, he brought up the quarterback timeline, and then he's asked about the quarterback timeline later in this interview, and I've got the exact quote right here. They asked him if he thought it was going to maybe take both scrimmages. Quote, Ryan Grubb, I think we probably will. Younger guys make sure we've got to get every ounce of data that we need, but if it's the first scrimmage, it's the first scrimmage. Obviously, the longer your team can have their starter named, the better off you are. We don't worry about the other teams and who they know it is or isn't. We just want to make sure that they're ready.
Yeah, and that's what you want to hear. You want to make sure, especially going into this offseason, we weren't sure at all. So you want to be sure 100%. I mean, as much as you can be at 100%, knowing that the guy you're choosing to start and lead this offense is the guy that is going to carry you through the entire season, barring injury.
I do find it really interesting, though, that he brought up two different timelines. If in that first question he mentioned the fact and said, hey, we're probably going to do this on whatever, on our regular timeline, right? Since back to 2021 at Fresno State, we're probably going to hit this on our regular timeline. So I'm thinking, okay, first scrimmage. Matter of fact, I'm not supposed to be doing this, but I'll do it here. First scrimmage. So realistically, we could have a starting quarterback named as early as Sunday, August 16th. That's if that's the timeline that they want to use. First scrimmage, Sunday, August 16th. That's after the first scrimmage, but that's the next time they take the practice field, after the first scrimmage. So Sunday, August 16th could be the earliest that we see a starting quarterback named.
Right, and I think another thing, we've been talking about how close and the improvements both guys have made based on what Grubb has been saying here. But I think a lot of it, kind of the flip-flop that we're talking about here in the timelines for naming that starter, I think a lot of that does depend on the first scrimmage. And if both guys do perform really well in that scrimmage, I think it'll take another scrimmage for them to actually hammer in on who it actually will be.
I wouldn't be shocked at all if, let's say you're right, both these guys do light up in that first scrimmage there, and suddenly, all right, we gotta go a second time, right? It's like, hey, when you're playing a game with your buddy, and it's like, all right, I won game 1, you won game 2, let's run it back. Let's run back game 3 and see who takes all there in the final matchup. So I absolutely would not be shocked if this thing does go first scrimmage. They are planning for the first scrimmage to be kind of the timeline, but let's say, let's say, for example, here, we get to that first scrimmage, right? That morning, they're sitting there thinking, okay, if things play out the way we expect them to today, we're going to name Keelan the starter and quarterback on whatever, Sunday, Monday, whatever day they end up deciding to do it. We're going to name Keelan Russell the starting quarterback if things go the way they do, or the way we think they will. And then Austin Mack comes out and throws 4 touchdowns. Well, Keelan only had 2. So maybe is that another one of those, okay, we may need to push this a week. We may need to say, look, guys, we're naming a starter following the second scrimmage. Continue to get out there, bust your tail, practice, and in a week, we're going to know who the starting quarterback is.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what Grubb said about being, as sure as possible in naming the starting quarterback. But I also think it's, like, this is something that I've been kind of, I guess, pondering on, is if it really is that close and you are improving in the run game despite no matter who the quarterback is, your run game has improved, and the quarterback battle is really close like that. It makes you wonder if they will give the nod to Austin Mack, especially if he's improved on the run, because he has that extra amount of time within the system going back to Washington and following them over here to Tuscaloosa. And I wonder if that, kind of loyalty from there is kind of, obviously the coach's loyalty lies with the overall team first, but it does make you wonder, okay, we know Mac, we trust him more with this system. He knows what to do. He makes the right decisions. He's improved on the run, which is exactly what we've asked him to do and what we've seen from him. And our run game has improved tremendously from last year. Makes you wonder.
I think it could make Alabama dangerous. And I feel like your starting quarterback, yes, it would be awesome if, Alabama named a starter. Would it be great if Alabama named a starter tomorrow morning when, we're heading out there to go talk to Coach Womack? Sure, absolutely. It'd be awesome if we got that. But they're not going, at least I feel like they aren't. If it were up to me, this is how I would do it. And it's very reminiscent of how this thing played out last year, too. They're not going to name a starter until the offensive line is mostly figured out, right? If you've got, 4 battles going on right now, which is kind of what you've got with left guard, or I guess 3 battles with left guard, right tackle, and a little bit at right guard. Not so much that Michael Carroll's not going to get that job. It's just, okay, is Michael Carroll the best guy for that job, or is Michael Carroll better at right tackle? I.e., is Michael Carroll is probably the best right guard and right tackle on the team. So is the second best guy at right guard better than the second best guy at right tackle? Because if that's the case, then so that's how that'll play out there with the right side of the offensive line. But you've got 3 battles open right now. Jackson Lloyd is your left tackle. Rayson Delgatti is your center. Michael Carroll is going to play somewhere. So until we figure out this offensive line, until we figure out, all right, who's our starting left guard? Is it Ethan Fields? Is it, William Sanders? Is it Mal Waldrop? Who gets that left guard spot? And then you turn around at the right tackle spot. Is that going to be Nick Brooks? Is it going to be Javen James? Or is there somebody competing at right guard? Maybe again, Nick Brooks, Ethan Fields, Ty Haywood, Caden Strayhorn. Is there somebody competing at left or at right guard that is so good that we feel comfortable kicking Big Mike back out to tackle? So until those battles start to get figured out, until we start to kind of piece together, okay, from left to right, it's Lloyd, Sanders. Let's say it is Will Sanders, Lloyd, Sanders, Delgatti, Carroll. All right, well, now we've only got right tackle that we've got to worry about. Is it Javen James or is it Nick Brooks? So until this offensive line starts to really and truly get hammered out, until we start to figure that problem out, I don't know that we're going to know a quarterback. So at that point, it's just kind of, we're at the mercy of the offensive line. Do they mesh and grow and figure everything out here by the first scrimmage? Or do we need another week or two to get that group figured out? So the offensive line is going to be absolutely, obviously, right? Everything works in cohesion, but the offensive line is going to be absolutely massive when it comes to figuring out who gets this starting quarterback position here for the University of Alabama. And again, I think this is going to sound odd because it's almost jinxing it to say it can't get worse than it has been, right? Because realistically, the run game last year for Alabama was was in the basement of the SEC. LSU was at least, playing down in the bedrock at the bottom, but Alabama was in the basement of the SEC last season in terms of running the football. The offensive line play since 2020 has been, I think, the worst I've ever seen in Alabama. That's not saying that, Coach Saban couldn't do it or Alabama sucked on the offensive line prior to then. But after 2020, this offensive line has been not great. Bryce Young dealt with it in 21. 22, he dealt with it again. 23, it cost him a potential championship appearance with McLaughlin, Latham, and Proctor. Not to mention Proctor was competing with Elijah Pritchett at that point. 24, they masked a lot of it with the Jalen Milroe run game. Last year, it reared its ugly head. So this offensive line is such a key piece to what Alabama wants to do this season, which is why that when they talk so highly of Adrian Clem, when, Jackson Lloyd goes out and mentions, hey, we really are liking Adrian Clem. We really like Coach Clem. When Ryan Grubb says, hey, Coach Clem is one of the most intense guys that I've worked with, but every time he's talking, he's coaching. When Kalen DeBoer says, hey, this was the right guy for our program, we feel like we went out and made the right move by bringing him in, it makes me think a little bit about, okay, maybe this offensive line is going to be drastically better than what they were last season. Not saying they're going to be, top of the SEC, but maybe they are. Maybe instead of 2 steps better, they're 3 steps better or 4 steps better, right? Maybe instead of being, going from 15th to 12th in the SEC, hey, maybe they're 15. Maybe they were 15th last year, but maybe they get to 8 or 9 this year rather than 11 or 12. Just that extra step in the right direction. And with how talented this roster is at receiver, at running back with EJ Crowell, at tight end, at quarterback, even if, like Jackson had mentioned, Austin has taken those steps as a passer outside of the pocket, with how talented this team can be, or this team is, if that offensive line is just middle of the pack in the SEC, 7 to 9, 7, 8, or 9 in the SEC, this ceiling for this Alabama team goes from, because right now I think this ceiling is probably what it was last year, quarterfinals appearance. Maybe if you get really lucky in a quarterfinal, you can go make a semifinal. But if this offensive line turns in the middle of the pack in the SEC, I could see that ceiling being raised to, hey, maybe you can go make a championship appearance because of how talented everybody else is in these rooms around the University of Alabama. So we'll come back on the other side of this break here. Get ready to wrap up our loose ends.
6829. That's 800-923-6829. What do you have to lose? Call 800-923-6829. Again, 800-923-6829.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Here's your Tuscaloosa and West Alabama forecast. A sticky afternoon with sunshine, 94. Scattered pop-up showers and storms developing here this afternoon. Storms will fade away tonight. We turn partly cloudy, 74 Friday and the weekend. More of the same, sunshine, warm and humid. Afternoon showers and storms possible Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll see temperatures in the mid-90s right on through Sunday. Richard Weathing of the Weather Channel for Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
It's 94 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Catch every game and every moment right here. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show. We're getting ready to wrap up the loose ends and get you ready for the game with Ryan Fowler coming up from 2 until 6 p.m. Martin Houston kicks us off tomorrow morning for a Free-For-All Friday edition of our shows here on Tide 100.9. Right? Tomorrow is Friday. My days are starting to run together with everything that goes on. But all right, Free-For-All Friday from Martin Houston from 6 to 7. Wimp and Barry Sanderson from 7 to 9. Gary Harris from 9 to 11. Christian Miller from 11 until 1. And we'll be back on the air tomorrow at 1 o'clock at 1 o'clock Central Time here on Tide 100.9 here. Jackson, I am really interested in your thoughts here. How good can this Alabama offense get this season? Because we know what we know kind of the baseline for what last year looked like. We think the quarterback might be, a little bit of a step in the right direction, or a little bit of a step above what Ty Simpson was, especially late in the season there. But from a wide receiver and run game standpoint, what are your thoughts? Is this team better than what it was last season, or can it be better than it was last season? Or is this just flat out, no, this team is not better than what they were last year?
I think it can be better from what it was last year, just based on the assumption we're assuming here that the offensive line and run game will be better, as advertised by Ryan Grubb in his interview this morning. If that is the case, it absolutely can be better. Now, at the quarterback position, it's going to be hard to outdo what Ty Simpson was able to do last year, getting drafted 13th overall, and basically putting that entire offense on his back to get you to where you ultimately fell short in the Rose Bowl. I do feel like these quarterbacks, specifically Keelan Russell, has a higher ceiling than Ty Simpson, whereas Austin Mack, I feel like, can give you the exact same thing that what you got from Ty last year, which was elite in terms of ball distribution, making the right plays, knowing where to go with the ball, and understanding the system, and not, putting yourself in jeopardy. A lot of what happened in the issues last year were due to a breakdown in the offensive line, whether that was missed assignments or injury that led to missed assignments and an uncongealed offensive line. I do think at the latter half of the season last year, a lot of those issues were because of that offensive line and teams just, taking advantage of that defensively, specifically Oklahoma, Auburn, Georgia, Indiana. So with that, I do think that this offense can be better than what it was last year. And I do think that at the wide receiver position, you probably are a little bit better. Isaiah Horton is gone, but
yeah,
I mean, you can make up for that production with Latsier Brooks, who really came on strong last year. I know that's kind of a different kind of wide receiver style, but I do feel like he matches more with like Jeremy, whereas Derek Meadows, which I'm really high on Derek Meadows, that big body, that big frame, can step up in that Isaiah Horton type role, where Horton was kind of, I guess, a distraction in that locker room where it was like, give me the ball, I want the ball.
Yeah.
You saw that in the first Georgia game. You saw that in other games after that. And, is that addition by subtraction? I certainly think so. I think Ryan Williams is in for a big year, and it all kind of stems on, the repertoire and the, connection that they have with the quarterbacks. And I do think in the run game, when it comes to running backs, I think you're still super talented in the running back room. I know a lot of people are kind of down on the running backs, but I think the addition of E.J. Crowell kind of gives you that lightning in terms of, speed, skill, catching the ball out of the backfield, whereas Daniel Hill kind of gives you that thunder, that guy who can fall forward and get you a yard or two if the offensive line can do their job. Again, it all comes back to them. And I do think A.K. Deere is also in for a better season than what he had last year, because, I mean, if you remember bringing A.K. Deere in, everybody was excited about him coming in. He was the E.J. Crowell
he was
of
the
last
guy.
year. Yeah. And I do think we didn't get to see much of that last year, just based on, okay, we can't run the ball, so we're just going to do speed sweeps, get them outside the numbers, and because we can't run through the tackles. So we're just going to have to find ways to get those rushing yards, and that came from Jeremy Bernard or Ryan Williams or a Jam Miller slip pass out. So I do think from that regard, we'll do a little better.
I like that answer. I like that answer a lot. But let me ask you this question too, and I'll answer it as well here. So that way, and we'll wrap up the show after this here. Jackson, I've come back from January. Time machine. We're back here. We're back to August 6th, and I told you, hey, Alabama's season plays out pretty damn similarly to what it did last year. No SEC championship appearance because, they went out and lost to, or they lost, the two losses were in the conference, not one non-con, one in conference, right? So no SEC championship appearance, but everything else plays out damn near exactly the same. You lose a tight regular season game at home. You go on the road and don't really handle your business on the road against an inferior opponent. No SEC championship appearance, but you go win a playoff game on the road, and you go to the quarterfinals, and you lose by, we'll say 20, not even the 35, we'll say 20. Is that a successful season?
I mean, I still would look at that as a successful season because everybody, at least in that building, from what I've, can put together, is looking at encircling 2027 as the season where, okay, this is where we can make our true run.
And how many times have I mentioned that?
Yeah. Like, how many teams would kill to make it to a quarterfinal, win a playoff game, and be a part of the final 8 teams in the country?
Yeah.
I think most programs not named Ohio State, Georgia, Notre Dame, Miami, the big teams. And
the big dogs.
You throw Alabama in there, but that's just because of the history. But that is a successful season in my eyes. And I would assume that the two losses you're talking about are probably either Georgia or A&M in a close one at home and Tennessee on the road.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and those are the three games that I would circle. Maybe you could throw LSU in there, but I'm a little more down on LSU than most people are.
I think LSU's a year early.
Yeah.
Now next year's a whole different conversation about LSU, but they're not on Bama's schedule next year because thank you for Mississippi State.
Right.
Thank the Lord for Mississippi State.
Save us one headache, fine, but we still got to play Tennessee and Auburn.
Yeah, still got to play Tennessee and Auburn. And by the way, Alabama goes to Columbus next season.
Right. So, But no, I do think that, like, objectively speaking, that would be a successful season. No, you don't have the SEC title, but you made the playoff. You won a playoff game. 20 points in the quarterfinal.
Not as bad as 35.
No, it's not. But I would also say that, like, if you made it to the quarterfinal as Alabama this year, then you're a lot better than what.
I think you're ahead of schedule at that point.
Not only what you probably expected, but also what everybody else expected. And so that means that offensive line is better. And so would it be 20 points? I think it'd probably be more like 10.
That's fair. I was thinking, maybe they match up against like Ohio State and Jeremiah Smith gets a free play or something, 2 free plays or something like that.
Yeah, because I guess you would be playing one of the teams off the bye, which kind of helps you in a sense because, the only team that's done it is Indiana.
We've seen that too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to follow along this season here, but that'll do it for us today on a Thursday edition of the Deep South College Football Show. Tomorrow, let's go through and let's talk about the ACC. We're going to give our ACC predictions tomorrow as we are, probably about a week and a half away from giving our full 12-team playoff picture and predictions here for the upcoming season. But